Hello and welcome to the Red Jacket Club. My name is Andy. I'm here with my friend Brendan, and this is where we talk Cardinals baseball. Today is January 18th. We're shooting the 12th episode of the Red Jacket Club, and this is where we're going to talk about the infield and how amazing it is. We got a lot going for us with our infield, one of the biggest strong suits of this team. But before we get into that, Brendan, how are you feeling about the season? Obviously, we're still several weeks away from getting going, but pitchers and catchers are reporting soon in about a month. So, are we still as anxious as ever?
Oh yeah, like I've been saying every episode, I'm just super excited for it to start. The infield, like we kind of talked about off mic, it's probably going to be one of our easiest episodes because of how good it is and how solid there is. There's not too many question marks. It's everything is there that we need. They just need to kind of keep doing what they're doing.
Yeah, absolutely. So let's just jump right into it. Obviously, it's like I said, our strongest asset. This infield is incredible, in my opinion. We have two future Hall of Famers. Depending on what Contreras does, maybe another. Um, but one of the best offensive catchers in Contreras, and a guy who stole over 30 bases last season, in a guy who finished third in Rookie of the Year. 2022. So, like, what the heck is going on between these players? The infield has 15 Gold Gloves and 10 Silver Sluggers, um, and unfortunately, none of those Gold Gloves are coming from Contreras. We know why that is. Um,
Yeah.
there was a guy in his way for 19 seasons. Um, but to talk about just who we've got down the list, it's Paul Goldschmidt, Nolan Arenado, Wilson Contreras, Tommy Edman, and Brendan Donovan. And what more could you ask for, especially from a guy like Paul Goldschmidt? I mean, what a season last year. Finished 2022 with a 317 average. Crazy. What
Yeah,
the hell did I put for
that on
his
base
on base
percentage is
percentage?
wrong.
That's wrong. We're just going to talk about his OPS because it was a 981 OPS. He led the league also in slugging percentage with a 578 slugging percentage. He had triple crown, like he had a triple crown bid pretty late into the season. Unfortunately, Alonso and Schwarber just went off, and it was hard for him to keep up with those guys in terms of hitting home runs. Um, but he, in my opinion, should have gotten the Gold Glove.
Who did win it?
Um, I'm trying to remember. I know it wasn't him though. Not sure if you could give that a Google while I'm going off on my friend Paul Goldschmidt.
All right,
Um,
let me find
but he's got two more seasons with the Cardinals, and I just don't see him slowing down. I think that he's got every ounce of ability to be able to play into his 40s if he wants to. And I think that last season is more emblematic that he can still perform to that caliber. Did we find out who won the Gold Glove?
Christian Walker with the Diamondbacks.
Okay,
Not
interesting.
someone I would really think about winning a Gold Glove. Maybe he is that good at defense, but
Could be.
not sure.
I didn't really look into defensive metrics for Paul Goldschmidt. I just like I
You
figured
just see
that they're
him
really
work,
good.
and you see what he does on a
So
daily
yeah,
basis. You would think that's Gold Glove caliber defense,
right.
you know.
Hmm.
But yeah, I mean, I can go on a little spiel about Goldie. It's easy to talk about him. I mean, he's one of the most consistent players in the last 12 seasons. He's had MVP votes in 9 of the last 12 seasons. Uh, there was a part of me that wanted to find a reason why he's going to regress a little bit this year. Now, I don't think he's going to necessarily finish top MVP, but I definitely see him finishing top five. There's no reason for him to regress much, even though I did trade him in my Dynasty League because I did see some regression coming, which ended up winning me the league. So I got Mike Trout for him. So, and Trout won me. But I just got lucky where Goldie had a slow end to the season. In
He did,
September,
yeah.
yeah, September and October, he had a 716 OPS, but I mean, he had to have been worn out. He had pretty much a 1 dot OPS for most of the season, and we haven't had a player do that in a long time. So to see what that actually means, you see these other players like Judge have that 1 OPS, and you're like, oh, cool. But when he's on your team and you just see him do it on a daily basis, it's insane how much that means. And he just carried us pretty much this whole season.
Yeah. In the same vein of somebody like, I don't know what Aaron Judge's WAR was last season, but Goldschmidt had a WAR of almost 8. So like this guy was the Cardinals last year. And I see him being the Cardinal. Like I want him to retire a Cardinal. I think he will. What I hope most is that they do extend him to be able to finish out with Nolan. Obviously, he's a little older than Nolan, but they kind of can. He can have his last season as Nolan's getting close to having his last season also. So,
Yeah.
um, yeah, and we're going to talk about it a lot with most of these guys, but him himself or Paul Goldschmidt himself just seems like a Cardinal. You talk about the Cardinal way, the Cardinals culture, the bull or not the bullpen, the clubhouse culture. Everything points to
These guys, every single
yeah,
one of them, man.
yes. Everybody in this infield fits that description. So it's just really cool to that he finally found a fit. Obviously, he played well with the Diamondbacks, but I think the Cardinals are giving this guy every opportunity to get that ring that obviously everybody's chasing. And I hope that 2022 is the year. If not, I see it coming before he finishes his career.
And now that he won that MVP, I mean, the chances of him getting in the Hall of Fame just went up a ton.
Hmm.
It's cool to see us have potentially 2 players, going to the Hall of Fame most likely, which I don't know. It's cool to watch them on a daily basis. I do see them both probably retiring as Cardinals. I don't see why they would ever want to go to another team at this point, just for what the Cardinals have done for these 2 players. And I would think they love it here, just by Arenado not even opting out after the season he had. I kind of see these guys signing a few extensions to get them probably to their upper 30 seasons, and probably walking with us. So.
Yeah, and just to get into it, we can talk about Nolan Arenado. I mean,
Yep.
these are literally the dynamic duo. Like if Nolan Arenado's making an amazing play, it's only amazing because Paul Goldschmidt made it amazing on the other end. Obviously, the one play that comes to mind is Nolan coming across the field in Arizona and throwing this ball that he palmed and didn't get a good throw on it, but spiked it right in the dirt, and Goldie coming out with it
He
somehow.
probably threw that like 90 miles an hour at
Right,
least.
it may be 20 feet away. Like,
Dude.
yeah, and it's the only time I've really ever seen Paul Goldschmidt actually laugh and smile on a
Yeah.
baseball diamond. So you can tell that these guys really like playing together, and it sounds like Nolan's not leaving. With his season ended, he it's also crazy. MVP 3. So we had 2 guys that were most valuable players. He finished two with an average of 293 and on base percentage of 358 and a slugging percentage of 533 with an OPS of 891. Got the Gold Glove again because of course. It's his 10th year in a row, and he's gotten one every time ever since he's been in the league. He's gotten one. So just continuing to be that amazing caliber of a player. Um, and again, he didn't opt out. I don't like it. They brought it up on MLB Network. When's the last time a guy almost finished as a MVP like #1 and didn't opt out, like to even get more money from the Cardinals? Like
Hmm.
he said, I understand what the Cardinals are trying to do. I love it here. I love this town. Like I love these fans. We're gonna get it going, and we're gonna try and win a ring. And I think he deserves every bit of it. Everything that Mosaic has promised him, I think he deserves. So, um, I mean, what else could you ask for, really?
Yeah. Uh, we pretty much all know what these guys did. Their both seasons were incredible. The main thing looking forward is just, I was trying to find things that might have been different this season, but the thing is these 2 guys are just top, I don't even know, top 15 probably in the league. So they don't have holes in their game. There's nothing I'm gonna find in the stats that I'm like, oh, this is why this happened. Uh, both of them just need to stay consistent with their approach. And they know that, they're not gonna change anything up. But I had kind of a funny thought here that these two incredible players had such a good season, and their approach in the batter's box is like so different. It's insane. I mean, you see Arenado stomping his feet back and forth, all this movement with his upper half. But then you see Goldie, who's literally like perfectly
Quiet.
still. He's a
Yeah.
statue. Um, and I have a funny little note that I put in here saying "F you, high school coach," because he tried to make us all the same. He tried to have us all stand in the same batting stance, and baseball is just not that way. It's just fun to see two of the best players in the game have that different approach, and both have success with it.
They definitely do, and it's just going to be exciting even more every year, day in and day out when these guys are playing. I mean, they don't miss a game. I don't. It seems like they're never going to miss a game. So, fingers crossed that they don't. It's just going to be so exciting once spring training is here, just to watch those two again um, be on the same field. It still blows me away that we have this just these two players alone
Yeah, people don't
on this
see that
infield.
either. They start looking at our pitching staff and all this. It's like, can you just see this corner infield and how lucky we are to have this?
Yeah.
Um, to close out my Arenado talk, I just have one more thing to
Hmm.
mention. I talked about BABIP, the batting average on balls hit and play last episode, and he did have a couple down years of 2020 and 2021. And I looked into it. His BABIP was super low. So basically, like I said last episode, that BABIP will end up regressing to the mean. And in 2022, it seemed like it all clicked, and his BABIP was back into the mean, back into the norm. So that might have had some contribution to how well he did play.
For sure, for sure. I want to talk about our newest acquisition. It seems like the only acquisition that the Cardinals are really going to make, unless something happens here in the next couple of weeks. But Wilson Contreras comes over from the Cubs, and I mean, what more could you ask for? Again, like how? how do how do we have these three players?
Hmm.
He finished last season with a 243 average, 349 on base percentage, and a 466 slugging percentage with an OPS of 815. Now, when you're talking catchers, that's like out of this world. Like that's not normal. If I am remembering offensive statistics correctly, I'm pretty sure he's in like the upper percentile.
He's probably
I,
number two, I would
I was
think,
gonna say the
behind
only
JT
person
Remuto.
the only person I could think of that would pass him is JT Romuto, who's just a specimen. But in terms of replacing Yachty, I mean, this guy's um, just going over the last three seasons. I didn't count last year because obviously Yachty had some other obligations that he chose to focus on. But from 2019 to 2021, Yachty played 276 games and Wilson played 290. That's at catcher, I believe, or maybe I didn't do that math. Either way, um, Yachty had 25 home runs. Wilson had 52. Again, that's over the last three seasons. Yachty had 242 hits and Wilson had 252 hits. So, like, this guy is coming into this lineup and only makes it go way up in terms of offensive potential. I think he supports other people in this lineup, like Tyler O'Neill, gives Lars Nootbaar a little bit more help in terms of protection, um, and just is going to be another asset in the terms of power and average, which is just more than you could ask for. I mean, we could have gone the safe route and gotten a trade with Sean Murphy, but I think we knocked it out of the park and got Wilson Contreras.
Yeah, I mean, the important thing is we didn't have to give anything up. Like we were talking about in the wish list episode, and then we talked about it when the news broke that we got him. I mean, this is exactly what we needed. we even did a reaction video about his press conference. Uh, you and I are both on the same page. This is the move we needed to make. This was the only need of the offseason, I would say. And we're just super thankful to have him. Uh, we're really thankful to have him because he beats up Cardinal pitching. Adam Wainwright, he has a 1.003 OPS against Wayno. He's got a 742 OPS against Flaherty, which he didn't own him, but that's pretty even there. Miles Michaelis, he had a 1. OPS against, and then even when Carlos Martinez was still in the game, he had a 763 OPS against him. So a couple of those aren't going to blow you away, but definitely did some damage against us. So now we're obviously just super happy that we have him on our side. His StatCast stats look great. He's in the top percentile of exit velocity. His one of the stats I mentioned last episode, again, his expected weighted on base percentage. Let's see, his strikeout percentage went down 7%, which is a huge percentage in 2022. So the last thing I really had to say is he's staying within the division, so he doesn't have to learn too many pitchers. I mean, I'm just super excited what he can do. I think he's going to fit in great for us.
Absolutely. And when it comes to his defensive style, what it sounds like is that from the press conference that he's not missing out, or we're not missing out on much from losing Yachty. It sounds like he wants to be. I'm pretty sure he even said he wants to call his pitchers his brothers. He wants to be close to these guys to get to know their style and everything. And I know a lot of people were worried because the Cubs stopped really using him as a catcher last season. But even still, he's proven that he's one of the top defensive catchers. So it's going to be interesting because of that fact that he wasn't necessarily seen as their priority in terms of being a catcher. Trying to get him back into that everyday cycle. But I mean, he's every year outperformed the league's average in caught stealing percentage, which is really other than plays in front of the mound or drop third strike, whatever. He's keeping people off the base paths at a high rate, and he's also been a 3-time All-Star at the position. So he's got more potential than any when it comes to what he's good at, and I think again it's crazy that our core right now is Nolan Arenado, Paul Goldschmidt, and Wilson Contreras.
Mm-hmm.
If we want to move on, let's go into the middle infield, which are my favorite positions. And this guy that we could talk about next is got to be just one of the best Cardinals that could come out of. I mean, well, he came out of our farm system, which again is just another reason to trust the process, trust the system. Tommy Edman has like, what's there not to like about Tommy Edman? Last year, he finished with a 265 average, a 324 on base percentage, and a 400 slugging percentage for a 725 OPS. He had 32 steals. I'm going to say that again, 32 steals. He was, I think, third in the entire league, Major League Baseball, in steals last season. And he's just one of the most exciting on the field right now. He's a Gold Glove player. I think he should have won the Gold Glove last year, but it's kind of hard to peg down where he was playing. He basically almost split time exactly with playing second and short. He played 614 innings at second base and 622 innings at shortstop. And to go more towards that, he had 12 defensive runs saved at second base and 6 at shortstop, so a total of 18 all of in 2022. So I know Mozeliak said that he is our shortstop, which I could totally agree with. It sounds like Tommy Edman is okay with that too, being that that was where he played in college. He sounds comfortable with the position. Based on the defensive run save numbers, I like him better at second. I've always thought that he was an amazing second baseman, but I mean, hey, if you got this guy at all, I think your team's a hell of a lot better than without him.
Yeah, this is the kind of player that every team needs to have. a guy that you can slot into the everyday lineup and not worry about it, but also be the utility guy that you would typically see on the bench. I mean, last year he had some appearances in center field, left field, third base. He could obviously play right field. I mean, he can play any position, obviously not first base. But personally, I was a little worried about him moving to shortstop, mainly because Mozeliak kind of made me worried about it since he um, kept saying that DeYoung's our shortstop and stuff like that. But whenever DeYoung really fell off, we had to end up making a move, and that's when Edman slotted in, and he did a great job. I was really happy to see how well he plays the shortstop position. I didn't think he had that good of an arm, but once I saw him over there, he does just fine. Um, I mean, it's a guy that you're excited to see in the lineup every single day. As long as he doesn't fall off the earth offensively, I think he's going to be a solid every single day player. But the biggest question is where will he fit in the lineup? Personally, I see him slotting into that 9 hole. What do you think?
I was just gonna say that. I was gonna say that I think he's that like second leadoff hitter, or whatever they call it. Yeah, I think he's gonna fit well there. He already kind of outperforms when he's there, and we have other options that we can put at leadoff. So it's I just love everything about this player. The thing that I'm not worried about the most, like other teams might be, is the shift going away. I think our middle infield is more than capable of covering the ground and making the plays that need to be made in order to continue to be that elite defense that won us the team gold glove. I don't think we brought that up, but this infield is basically the reason why. And it only gets better with Wilson Contreras. So there was one other thought that I had on Tommy, but for some reason I have forgotten it.
I've
Oh
got
no,
one real quick,
I
unless you
it may
remember
be
it.
the same one. This guy Mozeliak needs to extend Tommy Edman now. I don't make a lot of demands from the front office because I really trust what they're doing. But if they want to um, continue to get good outcomes from a shortstop or a second base role, which are sometimes not very easy to come by, they need to get this guy on an extended contract, and they need to do it. I think this offseason, if not during the season.
Yeah, there is a tweet that said, "Who do you see like under the age of 30 that spends the rest of their career with the Cardinals?" And I replied Edmund. I think he's just the type of guy to stay with us for a long term. And you don't want to see a situation like Colton Wong. I mean, we all loved Colton Wong, man, and I wish we would have kept him. Obviously, we figured it out since then, but I don't want him. I don't want Edmund to walk on us, kind of like Colton Wong did. My last point, though, was he did have the best season of his career, and his best full season. In 2019, when he came up as a rookie, he had 92 games. But this year, he had a full season with 153 games and had his highest OPS that he's had in the last 3 seasons. So he's trending in the right direction. Obviously, we're both excited for him this year, and I don't know, we'll see. He'll cover the shift, that's for sure.
Absolutely, yeah. And to talk about his counterpart next, Brendan Donovan, has so much. There's so much potential for this guy. It's so exciting. He finished last season with a 281 on. I'm sorry, batting average 281, a on base percentage of 394, and a slugging percentage of 379 with an OPS of 773. He also finished last year third in Rookie of the Year votes, which is it's been a while since the Cardinals have even been in that conversation, hasn't it? Or maybe am I just not remembering
So
somebody?
Carlson last episode got it in
That's right.
21. Yeah,
He got votes in
third.
21. Yeah. He got
Yep,
third?
third. Yep,
Wow.
third in rookie of the year. Yeah.
But it's still kind of an anomaly when I mean we always have young guys that are great prospects, but like they just kind of fly under the radar, like Tommy Edmond. But we're on Brendan Donovan, so um, he also got the inaugural utility Gold Glove. So because he plays everywhere, just like Edman, he was awarded with the Gold Glove for the utility player, which was new in this offseason and well deserved it. He's earned his spot in the starting nine like without any question. And I think that his ability to work full counts is something to be mesmerized by. Like it reminds me of Matt Carpenter. It's something that like not a lot of people have and not a lot of young players have. So it's crazy that this guy has so much patience and is able to work a count like he does. And I think that's his greatest asset offensively, which will help out a lot, especially in a like a leadoff role.
Yeah, that Matt Carpenter comp is a pretty good comp, honestly, just because you think of a leadoff hitter, you think of speedy, I don't know, contact type guys, which he is a contact guy, but kind of beat out ground balls and stuff. But Donovan, I do think will start in our leadoff spot because of that on base percentage. I mean, almost having a 400 on base percentage in your rookie year is almost unheard of. Uh, he's, I don't know, a very good leadoff hitter that we need for the rest of the guys to come up. Um, he's in the top of the league for strikeout percentage and walk percentage. Obviously, he's got that bat to ball skills. Um, he's probably not going to be a Gold Glover at second base, even though he was the utility Gold Glove. Which, so I don't know. Maybe he will be, but I just hope he kind of repeats it, even if he's around that like 750 plus OPS. Then I'll be happy as long as he's
Mhm.
getting on base for our guys, scoring runs. Then I'll be good with it.
Yeah, and I definitely think that Ali Marmol does put him in that leadoff spot. And another reason that might be is because his Z contact percentage, which is contact of pitches inside the zone, was 93% last season. So, and his overall contact rate was 85%. So this guy, he's gonna pepper the ball. He's gonna get on base. And I think that everything is up from last season for Brendan Donovan, in my opinion.
Yeah, I'm excited for him. I don't have too much to say other than good luck, Donovan. Hopefully, the sophomore slump stays away and he just sticks with his approach.
Yeah, absolutely. So there are some questions though when it comes to the bench. Obviously, we have a good core of starting infielders, but if somebody goes down, if somebody actually isn't performing very well, we got to go to the bench. So what are our options? We have Nolan Gorman, Andrew Kisner, Paul DeYoung, Alec Burleson, and Juan Yepes. We kind of talked like about Burleson and Yepes last episode. They can obviously platoon in the outfield as well as on the infield. So we'll hold off a little bit on them and kind of give more thoughts on Gorman, Kisner, and DeYoung. Now, for Gorman, he's the guy that of this young core, I think I'm most excited about. He's got that big lefty power, and with the shift going away, I think he's got a little bit more in his going for him in 2023. In 2022, he finished up with a 226 average, 300 on base percentage, and a 420 slugging percentage with an OPS of 721. Um, and so he did have a combined 30 home run season. That's including his minor statistics. I think he had 14 in the majors and 16 in the minors. But like I said, he's got that power potential, and with the shift going away, he's got a little bit more toward his approach that he can focus on pulling the ball a little bit more. Obviously, you don't want to pull everything, but um, I think that everything offensively is going to click in for him once he gets more consistent at bats. I think that he only really gets that by being a DH at this point because his defense was a little lacking. He came up as a third baseman, but we kind of shifted him over to second base because we unfortunately when he was starting to come up, we made a trade and got a guy named Nolan Arenado. So his defense was a little lacking last year. In at second base, he had a -5 defensive run saves. So um, not necessarily seeing a whole lot for him to be in the lineup for his defense, but certainly could see him slotting in at DH And that's honestly where I see him coming in out of spring training.
Yeah, it'll be interesting. It is kind of funny seeing like I feel like a lot of Cardinal fans have already overlooked Gorman. I mean, there's been no talks about the potential of this guy. He's one of the better home run hitters in the minor leagues last year and the year before, I'm pretty sure. I mean, this dude's legs are tree trunks. Like
Yeah.
he's got the build of this lefty power hitting, machine. But with that being said, it does come with some negatives with the strikeout rate. That was the big thing that held us back from him. Um, I mean, I don't know. I'm still really bullish on Gorman just because he had like that small sample size, still put together a 720 OPS. I mean, 30 home runs combined is no joke. Uh, I don't know. I think he's still got a ton of potential. Just got to get more consistent at bats in the league, I'd say.
Yeah, and I'm pretty sure it was either his first home run or his first home run in Busch Stadium. He like cleared the bleachers. Like this guy hits the ball hard. So
Yeah.
um I think he's got all those sabermetric statistics in terms of exit velocity and barrel rate and all this different stuff. He's got all that going for him. So if he does get the potential, he's going to be fighting, I think, Yepes for that DH spot. But if they're
Or
platoon,
platooning, probably.
yeah, right. Or if they're platooning and he's getting consistent games, I think he could be a real threat, especially coming from the left side of the plate.
Yep.
Um, so the biggest question mark and the most talked about when it came to the unfortunate news that we can maybe talk about a little bit later, that came out last week, but Trevor Story got surgery, so he's going to be out for a good part of the season, which led a lot of people in Cardinals Twitter to talk about Paul DeYoung and how we could get him off our roster. Um, Paul DeYoung, unfortunately, is not his 2019 self. He finished the season last year, spending a lot of it in the minors. He finished the season with a 157 batting average, a 245 on base percentage, and a 286 slugging percentage. It comes out to an OPS of 530, which is my note is disgusting. It's not good. His early offseason reports are that he's finally listening to the Cardinals um, coaching staff. It seemed like I don't know if Jeff Albert was the problem or who in the coaching staff was not getting to him or was causing him problems, but apparently was not willing to take instruction from the coaching staff. So I think they've finally started talking to him and telling him it's either you listen to us and our approach to these things and you start making some changes, or you're not going to be a Cardinal anymore. And what it sounds like is that he is actually working pretty hard. There was some audio coming from Andrew Kisner, who was talking about how he's working on his swing, and leaving and creating a bat path that stays long in the zone. So kind of that short to it, long through it kind of talk was coming from Andrew Kisner. So I don't really know what to think about for Paul DeYoung. I mean, he's obviously not where he needs to be, and I don't know if he's long with the Cardinals or if he can figure something out.
So when he got first called up, or second called up, I guess, in the middle of the season, I was actually super bullish. I was telling everyone that he's going to go off in the second half because he went off for like 2 weeks in AAA. And then when he came up the first couple of games, he was hitting balls like 100 plus miles an hour, but they were at people. So I was like, okay, like DeYoung figured something out. We got him back. And that only lasted for about a week. And then unfortunately, it just fell off big time again. So who knows what it is? It could just be, I mean, it could be a mechanical thing. It could be a mental thing. I don't know. We'll see. It's nice to have him stashed though, but I mean, is he on the 26-man roster then? Because
I believe he was on the Fangraphs roster,
okay, because he
slotted in
probably
the
doesn't.
bench.
I don't think he has any more uh, options, and so after like 4 or 5 years of service time or something like that, a player only has 3 options, 3 times to get optioned down into the minor leagues, and after that third one, they get sent through waivers, and then if they clear waivers, then they can go down into the minor leagues. So if he's out of options and he's really this bad, then we might have to just release him, and a team may pick him up. So, I mean, we don't want someone to waste a bench spot, and I'm sure he doesn't want to waste a bench spot for us either. So it's an interesting one. I mean, he's got to do something. He's got to stay productive on the bench, or else he's probably gone.
Right. Yeah, and the problem with that is, in terms of the Cardinals getting any type of return for him, is that his value, I don't think, has ever been any lower.
Yeah.
In the last 3 seasons, he has a WAR of 1.8, and in 2022 alone, Tommy Edman had a 6.4 WAR. So, like, in terms of Tommy Edman's our shortstop, Tommy Edman's definitely our shortstop based on those numbers. But like, who we've been talking about this for weeks now. Like, who's taking him, and who else do we have to give up in order to make room for who we get back? Unless it's a straight 1-for-1. So, I'm not sure. I hope that the talks that Kisner, because it sounds like he is working on a swing, so I hope that that is improving him. He's one of the people that I'm most interested in seeing in spring, kind of like when Matt Carpenter fell off the face of the earth, and came into spring training that one season before we released him. He was hitting line drives like crazy. I was like, he's back. Matt Carpenter's back. And so
Yeah.
it seems like and then he fell off again, but that kind of seems the same as we're talking about with DeYoung. So we'll definitely see where it ends up, and hopefully he comes into spring training with a new mindset, an open mindset to what the coaches are telling him. Because yeah, like we said, I don't think he's very long for the organization if he can't figure something out. We can move on to Andrew Kisner, and I have my first note in here is just the poor bastard's going to be another backup catcher, and
See, I don't
I,
think that's a bad thing. I
and
mean,
I know
if
that
I'm
that's your
a
thought, yeah.
if I'm a major league player, man, and I could be a backup catcher and not have the stress, just kind of like be a team guy
Hmm.
and try my best and have a good mentality, like I'll take it.
And he definitely shows that he has that kind of mentality, like, hey, I'm here, I'm giving my all. But
Yep.
the unfortunate part is because of Yachty being out so much last season, he got all the opportunity to prove that he could be the person that replaced him, and he kind of squandered it because he ended the
Well,
season
I
with a
remember it was pretty funny because there was about a week of he had like these little shot, like he got jam shots to right field, and people were like, Kisner stats in the last week 500 average, and I was like, are you watching the games?
yeah, because they aren't. He's not putting together good at bats.
Yeah.
But he finished last season with a 215 average, a 201 on base percentage, and a 300 slugging percentage with a 501 OPS. And like I said, he lucked out last year with being able to get more playing time, but he just didn't show that he is able to have those offensive numbers. I mean, when we're talking about who we've got to replace Yachty, you're looking at a 501 OPS compared to a 815 OPS. So like there was real no reason to bet on Andrew Kisner and try to see if he could figure it out. And I'm glad that the Cardinals didn't bet on Kisner, because then we'd hear about it for ages as we continue down this road of trying to cover the Cardinals. But I don't know what other options there are for him. He only DH'd twice last season, and he's made no other appearances. I think he made 7 appearances at first base, so it's not like he's got other options other than being the backup catcher. And I'm not sure how long that keeps him in a Cardinals uniform once Ivan Herrera is ready to come into play.
Yeah, he's just a backup catcher, and we love him on the team. I think he knows his role, but I don't think there was ever a talk of saying, oh, let's see if Kisner can prove himself to be the
Hmm.
starting catcher next year. That's just not his role, in the big leagues. Some people just have certain roles, and if he didn't buy into it, he wouldn't be on the roster anyway, because if he was wanting to be that starter and be like, oh, I'm gonna be that guy, then that's not the kind of mentality you need. You need the guy that's gonna be happy to be the backup, and I'm sure he's just fine with it. So
Yeah. Yeah. And I'm glad that he kind of seems that way. So I think that he's a good bench bat when we need him. He has shown, I think, just from recent memory, that he can be a pinch hit asset. But just when it comes to like consistency and being in the games all the time, it doesn't seem like that's the case. Um, but to kind of round out the talks on the infield, like I said, I alluded to last week, Trevor Story got surgery. Um, it's like not Tommy John, but kind of Tommy John. So he's going to be out for like 4 to 6 months, I think I saw. And so that opened up a lot of talks about getting rid of people like Paul DeYoung. Um, and I'm not, again, sure what value we can get for him. But in terms of the opportunities there, there's still talks about there being a certain player that the Cardinals are trading for. And I know a lot of people have been saying Chris Sale could be that certain player. What are your thoughts on a type of package that would lean into Chris Sale being the guy that the Cardinals are possibly trading for?
I mean, if it meant that Paul DeYoung leaves, I mean, I don't know who else we would have to give up for him, but I don't want to give up much. You know, it's got to be
Yeah.
like a lower level prospect that has some kind of potential that the Red Sox would be interested in. But you know, when it comes to these pitching trades, all these people want these big names, but it's like, okay, then
Hmm.
who do you give up? And I mean, Chris Sale, like, sure. I mean, I'm fine with it as long as it doesn't cost us much.
Right. Yeah. And I just don't know. I'm trying to think of what else we can really talk about. Not a lot is happening when it comes to Cardinals making any moves. They seem pretty content with the team that they have. And when we're talking about the infield, I think that it makes a hell of a lot of sense, especially when we bring on somebody like Wilson Contreras. I'm not sure what else there is to talk about. I hope that more information starts coming out soon about the article that I was alluding to was an athletic article by Jim Bowden, who said that there's this certain player that the Cardinals are trying to get, but they don't want to give out any information about it because if they do, if they allude to too much, the deal might not go through. And the only people that I can think of that fit into that category is somebody like Brian Reynolds. But like other than that, like I don't know. I don't know who else is like big on the trade market.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't see unless we're making those lower level trades. I mean, Brian Reynolds is going to cost a lot, and it sounds like the Pirates are their price is super high right now. So I
Hmm.
really don't see anyone getting him because of the. It sounds like they pretty much want your top two prospects at least, and then some MLB talent. So I don't see him getting moved. There are trades to be made, but none that I know of that's not going to just create another hole.
Hmm. Yeah,
So.
that's the unfortunate thing that we keep running into when we talk about all these trades or give speculation online or talk about the speculation that's online. It's just like, okay, well, if you get rid of one guy, you're having to get rid of another asset that we don't. There's no way Mazalak will get rid of. So, um, yeah, I mean, I'm super excited. I think the infield is what we have going for us in this whole roundabout thing we call baseball. I don't necessarily know what else to think in terms of what the Cardinals will do, but I hope that they either make a move or time flies by faster than the speed of light because I'm tired of waiting for baseball. So, any last thoughts on the infield before we head out, or
I'm
anything in
good.
general?
I'm good to go, man.
Yeah, yeah. Let's get it going. Let's get spring training here, World Baseball Classic here. Let's just get baseball going.
Yep.
I'm ready for it to be hot in the streets again. So, with that, you can find us on Twitter at underscore or at red underscore jacket club. You're hopefully listening to us on YouTube. Find the audio version on Spotify. And other than that, Instagram, same thing at red underscore jacket club. And we hope to be putting out more content soon. We think that we have a lot of good ideas coming down the pike. So if you have anything, tweet us. We love talking baseball. But for the Red Jacket Club, I'm Andy. That's Brendan. We appreciate you joining the club, and we will see you next time.